2, 1.
Next up, particle accelerator.
There's a lot to like about Undercoder's train game. The controls are tight, the theatrics turn every track into a mini adventure, the story is surprisingly touching and uncomfortably relatable at multiple points. But what I'm here to talk about is what's increasingly my favorite part of the game, and that's its soundtrack. Composed by Sean Bialo, T. Lopes, and Andrew One, with a guest list that includes Too Mellow, Iron Mouse, Shoji Meguro, Richard Jack, Lotus Juice, and many more. Denshattack's OST is a no-skip album that sounds incredibly hard to pull off on paper given the amount of distinct styles featured among its 80 songs, and yet, it is an integral part of what makes Denshattack one of 2026 best games, and arguably one of video games' most impressive original soundtracks, period. Now to learn more about how this absolute beast of a project came to be, I sat down with the composer Andrew One to learn about its process. Andrew's an interesting linchpin in Denshattack's OST's development because not only has he composed over 15 tracks himself, including this one, and this one, but he's also the one that was responsible for all of its mixing and mastering. His touch was key in turning this melting pot of different sounds into something that sounded cohesive and made sense all within one singular game. In the interview you're about to see, Andrew tells me how he pulled this off, in addition to how he got his start in composing music, the toughest parts of mixing and mastering his OST, his favorite video game soundtracks, and the ones that influenced Denshattack sound, and more. If you like anything you hear in this interview, please remember to leave a like and drop a comment if you have any thoughts about anything we talk about. I'd love to hear some of your own favorite moments from Denshattack, your favorite tracks. What do you think about video games' role in music given the place this conversation goes? Just whatever's on your mind as you're listening to this conversation between the two of us. And if you like this kind of interview and you want to see more of it, please subscribe for more video game covers like this and go have a perusal through all the other interviews I've already done on this channel. Without further ado, my chat with Andrew One. Andrew, thank you again for joining to talk to me about being a major composer for the soundtrack behind Denshattack. Before we get into Denshattack, I would love for you to talk a little bit about how you got into making music for video games. From my understanding, what I've seen in the past has something to do with you doing some stuff on the PS1 as a kid?
Oh no, that's actually how I started composing music because there was a software for PlayStation 1 called Music. And
Okay.
I always played around with music because I remember my grandmother used to have keyboards like rhythm keyboards, and she would play with the rhythms accompanying the music, that type of thing. And I would like to play around with that and mute the drums, mute the bass, and then put some new melodies on, that kind of stuff. But the way I started composing really was with music on PlayStation 1 and then Music 2000 on this is cute. Look who's calling me. I don't know if you can see.
That's for anyone that doesn't recognize the name immediately, that is literally one of the other major composers for
That's
Denshattack.
perfect timing.
That's amazing timing.
Let me just turn it off. Yeah, so music and then Music 2000, and I actually started doing like hip hop and R&B. I had a small group when I was a kid, and that's how I started making recorded music. And this is actually how I met this guy a long time ago.
Okay.
Um, and for video games, I actually started on mobile when mobile started to appear small mobile games for iPhone and the first iPhone and iPod when it used to be a thing. And I did a lot of mobile games. And I actually did some pretty big games at the time, namely Gravity Guy and
Mm.
Fragger, names like this. So that's how I started. But I always um, also made music in the Portuguese pop world,
Okay.
and yeah, so I always had that. And then, and then I stopped a little bit to make it short, to do other things. I never stopped making music, but I went out of the industry a little bit, and now I'm trying to get into strongly again.
Nice. What a way to come back to with this soundtrack for Densha Attack.
Yeah.
Real quick, before we even get into that, I would love to actually hear a bit more about you getting into hip hop and R&B. Was that like music you were listening to a lot as a kid from like your just direct environment? Was it just something that actually gravitated to you? Why those genres in particular?
Yeah, I don't know. I always loved music. since I was a kid. But at the time, when you're a kid, you have your we all we are all a fruit of what surrounds us, and I mean, I met some guys that really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it too. I remember listening when I was a very little kid. Crisscross, jump, jump.
Yes, crisscross, jump, jump.
I went crazy with that when I was very little, and yeah, since then I really love hip hop, and we just start doing that, and we actually we actually did some concerts, and we went to interviews and radio programs with music recorded on PlayStation. Actually, I did the music on a PlayStation. I connected to my stereo. I recorded it to mini disc, and then from mini disc to a tape with the back vocals. So it was very
Jeez.
amateur, but we did it. It was great.
No, that's awesome. Very amateur, but also very analog. I love the effort that you were
Yeah,
putting in it from a young age. It sounds
yeah, yeah.
awesome. Which then now brings us to the current age where you're working on this 80 plus soundtrack for Denshattack, a truly
Yeah.
massive effort from all of you. And well, there's three major composers. It's you, it's T. Lopes, there's Bialo, but you in particular were the one behind the mixing and mastering behind this project. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how you ended up in that responsibility specifically, as well as what did your day to day look like compared to the other major composers with this like other huge addition as a responsibility for the project.
Well, the way I again, since I was just to let you know a bit of the history, since I was started making music and meeting people, people always went to me for mixing, even when I didn't know anything about it. But I guess intuitively, it just, I mean, it clicked with me, and people
Mm,
thought my stuff sounded better, and they would ask me, "Hey, can you mix this for me?" And I mean, it was a natural progression until I started doing that professionally. And yeah, before this, I did a lot of jobs, mixing and mastering, and actually, I'm using that as a gateway to get into games again, because there's not many people doing mixing and mastering as
really?
there are people composing, because it's a more technical thing. It's not as fun, let's put it like this, because it's not creative, but it can be. But yeah, and so since I was in the project, they just said, "Hey man, you want to mix and master this?" Kit Katana, they already worked with them. They trust me with the with that. So it was all natural, happened naturally.
Nice, nice. And so then what was your day to day looking like when you were
Oh
doing,
yeah,
because you also
day to day.
made music, you made like 17 tracks on this yourself, and then you
Yeah,
also did that. So what did your day to day look like when you were like
and
balancing
I
both
also
responsibilities?
did the cutscenes with T.
Oh,
We
okay.
did we did all the cutscenes 50-50, and Don Dammers did a little loop. My day to day. Well, my day to day at first was pretty similar. We were just doing music and exchanging ideas in the group. Oh, look at my new demo. Check it out. Let me see yours. But when we were getting closer to the end, well, then my job became also mixing and mastering and receiving tracks, stems from all the artists, contacting the artists, changing ideas with each one of them. So it was a much heavier day, because all the composers were finishing, and I was starting like a new gargantuan task. So
Mm.
as I finished also my composing, I started the mixing and mastering, which was tough.
Yeah, no, I can see from your face that it was like a big effort.
Yeah.
So I'm actually curious too. So you just a second ago when you were talking about mixing and mastering, we are talking about how it's even been a bit of a gateway for you into working games more because it's maybe not the most fun part of the job or perceived as a fun part. Why is that? And I would also love for you to talk about like what is some of the creativity you're able to pull from doing mixing and mastering? Because even though you're talking about it like it's a like it was a big effort, there is a smile on your face as you're talking about it. So I can see it's like a there's a joy to this process for you, from what I'm getting at least.
Hey, listen, I'm always joyful. There's a joy to life, man. I'm alive. I'm happy.
Ain't
But
that the truth?
yeah, but yeah, how can I answer this? Um, yeah, there's not. I don't think there, because people, let's say normal people, regular people, they always listen to the music, but they don't know the technical part of it. How every album sound, well, if it sounds good, how the albums sound cohesive and how they sound all leveled, this type of thing. Normally people don't think about this, but it's a big thing in music, and it's an essential thing. And I mean, you asked about being creative. Well, because when you have uh, the artist tracks all the stems, well, you're in control of how it sounds. You can't run away from how it sounds a lot, because the artist has a vision. And what I do is I understand his vision, and let's make it the best it can be. So, but there's always room for, oh, I think this should go here a bit louder. Let's put some compression here, or some tape distortion, or whatever it may be. Let's, yeah, those small things. And it gives a lot of satisfaction when you work on it, and then you hear it like a day later, and oh man, this shit is sounding good, man.
Yeah.
It's like editing video. It's not, it's very time consuming, it's very slow. But then you rest for a bit, you check it out. Oh man, yeah, this is it. I see where this is going. It's kind of similar. It's not as slow, but yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
No, I get what you mean. I've like before I was doing like stuff like this, or even having what my full-time job that involves a bit more reviewing and writing stuff. I was doing a lot of video editing, so I know of like being very into the weeds of having to be like, oh, this cut needs to happen here. We need to make sure this transition is exactly like 2 seconds rather than 3 seconds.
Yeah,
It can feel very menial, but then when you see it come together, it's like, oh snap! It's like everything's flowing. There's a real rhythm to everything. It's really nice.
exactly. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Um, so kind of continue on this mixing and mastering thing. You had a good interview with the outlet Now Playing a couple of weeks back where you talked about this being like one of your hardest projects when it comes to mixing and mastering in general. And while I imagine it having to deal with 80 songs was a big contribution of that, I'm curious, was there any other part of this project for Denshattack specifically, whether it be the sonic influence or just working with other guests, that also made it like just a very big challenge?
Yeah, yeah, it's not only the 80 tracks, even though 80 tracks is a lot, but if it was 80 tracks from like one person or two, it would be fine. But it was so many people, so many styles. And when you're mixing and mastering an album, because this has to sound like an album, it has to sound cohesive, right? Part of the same family. And there's so many different styles and people and ways of thinking, that you start your mind gets warped. Now, for example, the kick on this guy is very crunchy, but the kick on this guy is very small. How do I make it? How do I make them sound similar without losing their identity? But and you multiply this by 80. So, for example, this is one of the issues. And then at the end, all the volumes, because some tracks get get the perceived loudness through maybe the low end, some
Mm.
through the mid, you know. So you need a lot of time to rest and do the work, rest the ears. Okay, let's go again. Oh, okay, now I can correct this. And the ears always get tired and tired and tired, and then deadlines approach very
Right.
quickly. Deadlines. Oh man, and then you don't sleep, and then you gotta keep moving, and then you don't rest as well as you should. So these are some of the. I mean, I have so much to say. I'm trying to keep it short for you,
No,
but
no, I appreciate hearing it. We have time, so I would love to hear anything that you think is worth bringing up. Don't feel like you have to do anything on my
okay,
part.
okay. Well, just I'll have that in mind.
Nice. So I that note one word that I want to grab on that you just mentioned was making all of this sound cohesive, which
Yeah.
which surprised me at how cohesive it actually sounds. Because like you said, when I'm playing this game, I
Thank you.
finished it by the time we recorded this. There are
Yeah.
so many different songs that could be in so many different realms that somehow still feel like they matter and make sense within this game. So I'm curious about if was there anything that didn't make the cut that was just like with a game that already has so many influences, somehow this was still something that was just a little bit too out around stylistically of what y'all were reaching for.
Uh, that didn't make the no. There were some that didn't make the cut. For example, I have three songs that didn't make the cut, but for other reasons. Actually, one of the songs, the one for fanzines, na, na,
Mm.
na, na, I don't know the name they gave it. Um, no more stories, na, 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 na.
No more stories. It's a beautiful day.
You know,
Mm.
somewhere we can play. I think that's the name they gave it. It wasn't me that gave the name. That track was actually supposed to be out of the game. I made that track for a trick park level, and they were full because there was so much music. But they enjoyed the song so much that they asked me, make this slower for. We love it so much. We're gonna use it for a menu or whatever it is. It was a fanzine thing, and I did it half tempo the beat, and but we actually used the original version on the OST. So
Oh,
there's
okay.
two versions of the track. If you check it out, it's different. But you asked me about tracks that stylistically no, but there were some tracks that were way too off,
Mm.
and we actually as a group we worked on it. Maybe Sean helped here and there. I helped another. T helped another, and so we all worked it out. So no tracks were out due to stylistic problems. Let's put it like
Really?
this.
Okay,
But there
very
there
cool.
were some stylistic problems and sounds that weren't working at the beginning, where we worked everything out.
Okay, nice. I'm also surprised that that song almost didn't make the cut. That song is like one of my favorite songs because I spent a lot of time just
Oh,
putting some insight into how I'm was playing the game, into getting those fanzines because I love the presentation of them. And so hearing that song was just like, oh, very good way to like listen to them while also reading them and just kind of enjoying the atmosphere. So it's interesting that that almost didn't make the cut.
yeah, because it was one of the last. Because the guy that one of the responsible from the project, he came to me. Hey, you have some tracks for Trick Park, and I did one specifically, which was that. But maybe it came too late. Oh man, we already used this one because it was so many tracks and a bit of lack of organization, maybe on my part. I don't know whatever part on them. Yeah. So tracks were jumping from level to level, and this was the case with this one. But it ended up in the game, so that's what matters.
Very cool. Very cool. Actually, quick detour question before we get to more questions I have about the album itself. How have you been able chance to like play the game a lot yourself? I imagine you might have played a little bit of it, but have you had the chance to like actually play? Have you played a completion? How have you been enjoying the game that like outside of just the music part that you've added to it?
I haven't played the game as much as I wanted to, but I'm playing it. I love it. I played it actually before it came out,
Oh,
and
nice.
but I'm gonna finish it. But I love it. The game is amazing. I love the music in it. Yeah, right. Yeah, but the guys are so. I mean, the game is stuff that I didn't see during development. It's awesome. It's so creative and so crazy. The things they do. I love the game. I love it. But I really love it. It's a game I would play if I didn't work on it. So that's the best. And I don't have much time nowadays. I'm just finishing another soundtrack for a game, so I don't have much time. But I would play this one if even if I didn't work on it.
No, I'm had such a good time playing this game myself. I feel
Oh
like
yeah,
this
you.
game is like so good at setting its own tone right out the gate. Just like you said, the crazy stuff that this game pulls off. That on paper, I'm like, how are you gonna do this? And then you're like jumping on Ferris wheels. You're fighting
Yeah.
monsters. You're like doing tricks off billboards. It's just insane stuff the entire time, and yet none of it feels unnatural by the time you get like roll
And I
credits.
like the wacky stuff, like you transform into a boat and then you use the wave to like a half pipe, and then you another level you control a shark. I mean, it's so wacky. I love it.
Yeah, and so I'm even curious. So, like, as a composer and a musician, for you, when you get attached to a product or a project where you see so much is kind of within the realm of possibility of like, oh, we're gonna let you guys do a lot. How does that feel? Are you happy with the openness to experiment? Do you like thrive more when there's a bit more of a focused vision? Like, just how you feel when you're like, oh, we can do a lot here. What's your mindset?
That's a good question, because I love the freedom of it, but at the same time, sometimes I I mean, it was so free that I didn't know where to go because I can go everywhere. So it was kind of intimidating. What do I do here? Oh man, I can do so much. So that part is really hard to actually decide what to do, because you want to do the best. You want to do the best song, but
Right.
best song in what style? What am I gonna do here? Give me some direction. I actually sometimes ask for some direction. Other times I just did what I thought. But yeah, that's I love the freedom. I also love direction. But the freedom, even though I love it so much, it can be a tough beast to tame. If you know
Right.
what I'm saying.
Bit intimidating.
Yeah, exactly. Intimidating. That's the right word.
Yeah, nice. Still very cool how it's all come together with all that. Just like you
Yeah.
said, you can go so many directions, but you somehow found a creative core that actually works out the entire game. Which brings me to another question or like line of questioning that I want to ask you about was these guest features. So many people are in this game that I've just like names I haven't heard before, a few others that I know of like producer Too Mellow, just like so many people are a part of this project. What was that like? Did you guys already have a list of guests that you were like, oh, we know we want people on this project. Let's like hit this person up, hit that person up. What was just looking like getting these extra names on here?
Eh, Listen, when I was the second guy to come in after T, and the names that were on were just T, me, Sean. They were positive Sean, and Tumelo and Rio Nagamatsu. Those were the certain names. All the others we were working out as we went along, because there are some names that, I mean, we need to talk. We need to see how they're available. This kind of logistics. And actually, we had some meetings to decide what some new names would be cool, and we will listen to a lot of names, even more unknown names, to bring stuff to the game, some different stuff. So that was a lot of fun. And well, they got a lot of big names, so not many small names. So yeah, that was a fun process, part of the process.
No, very cool, very cool. And like, yeah, I am so with that in mind, I'm curious with getting so many of these different names, do you think that was a little bit possible because of what kind of project this was? Because for me, Denshattack, despite how much production value is on display, feels so much like an indie title regardless, at least in the like world of games. It's not something that I think a lot of people would fit into like a triple A game or a double A game or like, those kind of big marketing terms or whatever. So in your experience when you're doing collaborations like that, what is the difficulty in getting guests to work with you? Is like, was this one of the easier projects to have this happen? Or is it like, wow, I can't believe this is so simple? Or is it just like, yeah, this is a bit business as usual?
Yeah, I think it depended on the guests. Some guests were harder to get, like Mitsuyoshi-san. We had to deal with Sega, and yeah, let's see how we were available and sign a lot of paper, but then all good. I mean, it was some took a little longer to talk with. Better said. Um, yeah, but I think, and oh, one of my idols that I got to meet on this project, Richard Jake. I used to say Jacques. I know now it's Jake. Richard Jake. From Sonic R and Project
Mhm.
Gotham Racing. He was actually one of my idols growing up in video
Oh,
games.
very cool.
It's very cool. Uh, he did one song. Yeah, so I think it was easier because the guys are so passionate, and they show that passion to the all the musicians, and when when people do things out of love, other people want to be a part of it, I guess. So I think that was the secret.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. I was just recently talking to the developer Sean Alexander Allen, put together a game that used a lot of licensed music from underground rappers in New York City here, and that was kind of a similar line of thinking that helped bring that soundtrack together of just people that were like, you're doing something cool. It's clear that you're authentically coming to this project, and I want to be a part of it. So like hearing this again, it seems like that's like a theme with some of the projects I've been seeing this year, where there's been just a lot of passion present. So that's cool to hear.
Yeah.
With that in mind, just looking back on the project as whole, like I said, 80 projects was a lot. It was a lot of fun. If you were to do like an 80 plus song project again, or just like something at this scale, is there anything? Is already? Would you? Is there any? How would you go about it differently if you would do anything differently at all?
Good question. Oh, I would start much sooner mixing and mastering. That's one of the things, and getting the stems for all the tracks much sooner, because people take their time exporting stems, and that was a big thing. So yeah, I would start sooner, calmer, more organized. I mean, if it was a similar project in magnitude, oh yeah, that's what I would do. I learned a lot from this one, and if I ever do something this size, I'm much more prepared because of this one. Let's put it like this. I
Gotcha.
know now.
You know
I know
what
the
to
truth.
expect.
Yeah.
Oh, very good to hear. Thank you for sharing all that about the Denshattack soundtrack. It's been a pleasure
Yeah,
to
man.
hear, and I think from what I've been seeing with other people that have been enjoying it, I think it's really going to make a mark in just the larger
Yeah.
video
And
game
great.
original soundtrack, like what
Yeah.
people think about them. So even just thinking about that, I'd love to hear what are some video game soundtracks outside of Denshattack that you're big fans of? Were there any that you had in mind when you were producing this, or just ones that even outside of this project, you're like, oh, I could always come back to this and suggest it to people?
Those are some different questions. Well, for this game, the inspirations are obvious. Jet Set Radio and Bomb Brush, but more in my case, a lot of Jet Set Radio. But it went so far from that as well that, I mean, I don't even know for this game. But Jet Set Radio was the main. If you, if I get lost, let me hear what they're doing here. And I know that those soundtracks very well. I grew up with them. But if I ever got lost, okay, let me check what Uncle Deck is doing here. Oh, okay. And the favorite soundtracks, listen, Streets of Rage 1, 2, Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Sonic CD. Oh, yeah, when I was a kid and I heard that for the first time coming out of the TV. I went crazy.
Nice.
More Sonic R, Project Gotham Racing, Jet Set Radio, Mass Effect. I mean, I have so many. Symphony of the Night, Castlevania.
Mm.
I love that one. I actually have a small card in my car, SD card, with all my favorite soundtracks to rock them when I
Oh
drive.
wow, nice.
I love it. But yeah, you have any favorite soundtracks of your own? Which one are
Oh,
yours? Out of
yeah.
you
So
have
I've
two
got a couple. There's a couple from this year that I was already
from
big
this
fans
year.
of. Oh, like I really like the Mina the Hollower soundtrack from Yacht Club Games. I think that's just very snappy. It sounds old school, but it has like some very, I almost want to say like, what's the word I'm looking for? Some beats from modern hip hop and like the way that there was a lot of synths in it that like give it a bit of a spooky vibe, but almost like more Halloween Town than like a horror slasher movie. I'm a big fan of the Unbeatable soundtrack from last year. That's one of those where I'm like, I think everyone should listen to that one, even outside of video games. It's
Hmm,
just
I have to check
captures
it
a
out.
certain youthful garage rock energy that I think is awesome. I like the Disco Elysium soundtrack. I also like the Sonic Unleashed one because that was one of my favorite Sonic games on the Wii when I was younger.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think if there's any more that come right off the top of the head. What am I thinking of? Oh, I like the Kingdom Hearts soundtrack a lot, just because Kingdom Hearts is one of my favorite games,
there
the
you go.
series in general. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's definitely those ones are definitely up there for me. Just those.
Cool.
I'm love to engage with. Um,
Kind of different styles from what I
yeah,
mentioned, which is
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I always try to say of like, I love trying to listen to as many different types of music nowadays because I think when I was younger, I definitely focused a lot on what was in my direct environment. That's why I like asked you a little bit about hip hop and R&B because I grew up in very much a hip hop and R&B
Oh, there you go.
household with my mother and my father. So I was just like, oh, okay, I feel like that's something that I connect with there. But definitely
Yeah.
as I gotten older and exposed some more just from my partner, from my friends, I'm like, oh, there's like so many ones that I'm like don't even understand the niches within these niches.
Yeah.
So I think video games sometimes end up being a good way because video games so freely borrow from whatever music they want to that it's like it's good exposure therapy in a weird
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. A lot of music to hear, man, in the world.
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah.
good music. Yeah.
No, and so even with music within games, I'm curious for you, now that you've worked on a couple from like mobile, for this indie one, and just in general, is there anything about the role that music plays in games that you feel like is different from like other mediums or just like when people are listening to music on its own?
I think it's kind of like movies. Again, I think a lot of people, let's say, I always say regular people. When I say regular people, people that aren't so musically inclined, you know. For example, when my girlfriend, we were hearing a song, and I asked her, "Oh, did you hear that bass?" Well, no, no, bass. Check out the chords, the piano. No, she just focused on the voice, on the lead voice, and it's like games and movies. I think it's the same because most people, or let's say, not most people, but a lot of people, they don't listen to the music actively. I do,
Mm,
of course, but they feel it, and it really makes a difference on how you're feeling watching that scene or playing a game, playing like a tough boss or something sad. Um, and maybe even more in video games because it's interactive, right? And
mm.
you're part of the experience. So I'd say, yeah, yeah. I forgot the question, but I think I'm on it.
No, you're
I think
definitely on it.
I think it's really. I mean, I think it's a core part of the experience, even though some people might not think it's as important as the graphics, as the gameplay, as the whole presentation. I think, yeah. I mean, it's one of the core parts. But I mean,
No.
I'm musically inclined. I'm a musician.
No,
Yeah,
I think there's definitely some truth to that though. Like I even think about the way so many games have existed or like been in the cultural mind for so long in part because of their soundtrack. Like a game that
yeah,
I think about often because of that is Undertale. People love Undertale for so many different reasons, but like one of them to me is undoubtedly its soundtrack. People talk about that soundtrack like it's their day job. So to me it's like you're absolutely right. I think the way people talk about music sometimes focuses a lot on the voice or still can't be detached from like the game. But undeniably, I think there's something to music where people are like, I need to make sure that I keep this with me in some way. So it's
yeah,
been interesting to see how that's grown in games over a long time. Do you feel like
yeah,
it's changed a lot since you've been like in this space for a hot minute? Do you feel like players' relationships with game music has changed from your perspective?
yeah. Yeah, I think so because games are such a big part of the culture. I mean, it's not as big as Japan because in Japan, game composers are like pop stars, right? Not the same here in Europe, in America. It's not the same, but I think it's crossing over. And actually, that's one of the things I would love to be a part of to help make game music become more mainstream, like regular music, lose that stigma of video game music. I would love to, and we actually speak about that a lot, especially with Kit Katana, the label responsible for releasing all the music. It's a big goal to at least help or continue helping video game music cross over.
Right. And I know that's a big goal, so this next question I don't expect an in-depth answer, but like do you guys already have some ideas of how you want to help make it mainstream or like there are things where you're like, "Oh, this is a barrier for people giving it the stigma. Here's how we can like either knock it down or kind of like inch them closer towards like, "Hey, no, you can still enjoy this too without you having to feel weird about it."
Yeah, we listen. We invited a rapper from Japan. I know it's Japan, but maybe next time we invite one American rapper, a UK rapper, or a singer. We did the bonus song that I actually got to get into my roots again, my rapping roots, and in Portuguese, a bit of English. And we are thinking about doing a music video for that, the regular music video.
Oh,
I
okay.
already have some footage. I mean, stuff like this to slow and the music itself, because if the music is good, it spreads by itself. So
Very
that's the most
true.
important thing. But yeah, these small details I think also go a long way.
Awesome. Well, I know we've been talking for a hot minute now already, Andrew. I
How much
think
time
that
has it
it's been
passed?
35 minutes about, well,
Ah,
35
very
minutes.
quick, man. It
Yeah.
was fun, man.
Yeah,
All
no, it's
good.
gone by very fast. I've had a pleasure talking to you. Before we
Thanks,
head
man.
out, I just wanted to give you the chance to like, where people can people find you? Where can they find your music? Where can they follow your work? Just where can they find Andrew at?
I have a website, andrew1.com. And then all my socials are Andrew1Aware altogether. I mean, that's it. I mean, you know what? I have to work on my social game a little bit, man. I'm always doing music, and yeah, I'm kind of laid back, but I have to work on it. Really important. But
I've
yeah,
I've
Andrew One
heard.
Aware, YouTube, Insta, Twitter, X. Yeah, it's all Andrew One Aware.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for making time to talk today, Andrew. Really had a happy conversation here about Denshattack and just music in general. Really appreciate you making time for this.
Thanks, man. Great questions, great talk. Loved it.
My turn.
Got a cool shot.